Good day, I am Sonja Steenkamp, but this is my husband Danie Steenkamp. It is a great privilege for us to share a bit about our life with you, and we hope that it will inspire you. We are happily married for the past 13 years and are blessed with 4 children between the ages of 7 years and 6 months. Danie, can you start by telling them a little bit about your life?
Well, I matriculated in 1991 in a small town in the Southern Free State, Wetstorp. But being a boy in a small town, my marks weren't that great. So the next year I went for military service, and there I was part of the National Defence Force Reaction Force in 1992. And then in 1993 I started to study clinical technology at the Technikon in Bloemfontein. And then I worked as a clinical technologist for a few years after I got my degree, and then eventually, after applying many times, every year actually, to study medicine and never getting selection, eventually in 2000 I made the selection, and then I could start to study what my dream always was.
Okay, yes, Danie then started studying medicine in 2001, and that was also the year that we got married. When did you receive your degree?
In 2005 I got my degree, and then for 2 years I needed to do my internship at Pulanaumi Hospital in Bloemfontein. So 2006 and 7 was internship years, and then in 2008 we were sent to Kimberley to do my community service in the government hospital in Kimberley.
Yes, and we are still staying in Kimberley and are very happy there. Danie, what life-changing event took place in 2008?
Well, on the 11th of June, I was in a terrible motorbike accident where I was severely injured and nearly lost my life.
Yes, he was unconscious and the paramedics transported him to a hospital then. How serious was the accident?
It was very serious. I can't remember anything, but what I was told was that I had a severe brain injury, that I was in quite a deep coma, and also apart from the brain injury I had bad fractures to my right hip and right upper leg, and then also a first rib fracture on the left hand side and a C3 transverse sinus fracture also, and then some cuts and bruises. Yeah.
Yes, when the police phoned me, they told me that it was serious and that I need to come to the hospital immediately. On my arrival there, the ER personnel were busy resuscitating Danie. After successful resuscitation, they told me that the next 48 hours will be critical, but they don't believe that Danie will make it or be alive, and they asked me to phone the family members to inform them to come to hospital. Did you need any operations, Danie?
Yeah, the same evening after the accident, I had emergency surgery on my leg and my hip because of the bad fractures and severe bleeding internal bleeding in my legs. I actually needed to get 5 units of blood also. Fortunately, I didn't need any brain surgery because there were many small point bleeds throughout my brain, but no single big bleed that they could drain. So fortunately I didn't have any brain surgery that evening.
Share with us how long you've been on a coma?
Apparently it was between 2 and 3 weeks that I was in a coma, and then after that I started to slip in and out of a coma also. So basically 3 weeks before I started to become orientated again.
Okay, from a medical perspective, can you just share with us how your CT and MRI scans look?
Well, there were diffuse point bleeds throughout my brain, but the most severe ones was in the right frontal lobe and also right parietal lobe. And that there was many bleeds, but no big bleed.
Yes, the neurosurgeon described it as that his brain looked like scrambled eggs because there was no differentiation between the white matter and the grey matter in his brain. What kind of physical impairments did you have?
Well, while I was still in a coma, I had a left hemiparesis because of the brain injury, not because of a neck injury, but because of the right parietal lobe injury, which was quite bad. And then also because of the bad fractures in my hips, I was immobilized. And that's basically it.
Yes. What kind of therapy did you receive while you were in a coma?
Yeah, that's all that was told to me. I don't remember anything of that period, but apparently the only therapy that I received was lung fissure because I was ventilated and lying still on my back for 2 to 3 weeks. But I didn't receive any rehab therapy because I think it's because the prognosis looked quite poor and they were just hoping for me to survive, never mind rehabilitate well.
Yes, as Danie told you, at that stage of his coma and his hospitalization, he didn't receive any occupational therapy, speech therapy or physiotherapy in the sense of his rehabilitation. The doctor said that he will not recover, he will not be able to go back to work, and he will most likely not be able to look after himself at that stage. At that stage when the accident happened, I was a baby gym instructor for almost a year, and I did my training in Bloemfontein, but I've never met Melody de Jager at that stage. She phoned me though to talk to me about Danie's accident and try to comfort me, and yes, she played a huge role in my life. At that stage she told me that I must think of Danie as a newborn baby, and I must do the baby gym exercises and massage with Danie. And then she said something that was quite important. She said, don't think about it, just do it. And I'm quite a left brain person, so if somebody tells me to do something, I'll do it, and I'm very task orientated. So from the third day after Danie's accident, I started with the baby gym exercises with him. I did the baby gym massage on him, the full body massage, and it took quite a while, but since I was sitting next to his bedside most of the day, it gave me something to do. The doctors and the nursing personnel actually thought I was a bit crazy doing it, but at that stage I didn't care, I just do it, and it helped me more at that stage than I thought it will help Danie. But at least I was able to do something and get the time to pass quicker. Some of the other exercises that I did was a lot of midline crossing between his left leg that was paralyzed at that stage and his right arm. I wasn't able to bend his right leg due to the fractures, so I did the midline crossing like that and just used his left arm to stretch it over to his right hip, since the right leg might not be moved. And then while his left side was paralyzed, I tried to stand as much as possible on his left side so that his brain doesn't shut off the left part of his body. I kept on rubbing it, stimulating it with different textures and different temperature, hot and cold compressors I've put on. And then also I've done quite a lot of calf stretches and keeping his ankles at a 90 degree so that it doesn't get the drop foot. When Danie started to come out of the coma, he was not awake at first for a whole day. He slipped in and out of the coma. At that stage he didn't recognize me, he couldn't remember that he was married, he couldn't remember that he had children or a child at that stage. So that was quite a bad stage for me. Later on, the doctors asked a speech therapist to come and help Danie to start to swallow and eat. but he was not able to swallow at all, and he didn't for some reason didn't like the speech therapist. So every time she came in, he would pretend that he was asleep. But in the end, they couldn't get him to swallow anything, neither to chew anything. And here, the baby gym also helped me. So in the evenings, when everybody was away and only the nursing staff were there, I actually, gave him a dummy. I did a lot of oral stimulation as well, and then I gave him a dummy to suck on. And as soon as I put the dummy inside his mouth, he would suck it. I got a lot of rejection about that because they said I was dehumanizing an adult patient doing that. But yes, I'm task orientated and Danie need to swallow, so I will make him swallow. And then,
fortunately, I was in a coma and I couldn't fight it. But believe me, if I was close to awake, I would never have allowed her to do anything like that. So it's actually a good thing that I was in a coma, because that gave her the opportunity to do the correct exercises with me.
Yes, if I can interrupt myself, just to share a bit of humor with you. At one of the stages of traumatic brain injuries, they talk about people with improper behavior. It's one of the stages. And as I said, Danie didn't recognize me. So when I did his exercises, he was quite furious with me, and he said it is painful and he doesn't want to do it. And then he said he's going to hit me if I continue. So I told him, yes, it's fine, he can hit me as long as he does it with his left arm, which was paralyzed at that stage. So he wasn't thinking that it was funny at that stage. Yeah. Okay, about the dummy, back to the dummy. Okay, so we put in the dummy and he started sucking that. And then I progressed him to the next level of feeding after sucking. Then I put a baby bottle with a normal baby teeth on it, and gave some water for him inside that, so that he can start sucking on that, and then he was able to swallow. But on his own, without the sucking, he was not able to swallow. And so we progressed another bit, and then we used this sucking bottles that looks like an Energate bottle, and then I've made juice for him inside it and freezed it, so it was more like a slush puppy. And then he had to suck quite hard on it to get it out, and then it also helped him to swallow. So in the end, he was able to start swallowing, and it just showed that once again Dr. Melody de Jager was correct with telling us that I must think of him like a newborn baby, and look for the natural milestones that the baby needs to follow. One of the other milestones that he needed to have, the doctors wanted him to sit up when he was awake, during the periods that he was awake and off the ventilator, but he quite fall to the one side because of his paralysis, but also he didn't have any neck control at that stage. So here we did a lot of neck exercises. One of the things I did was putting a cushion underneath his shoulder blades, and that then he had to lift his head, and that exercise his neck muscles a lot. And so we went on and did a lot of the baby gym exercises as far as possible. And then after 3 weeks after the accident, I asked the doctors if we cannot transfer him to a rehabilitation hospital named Pasteur Hospital in Bloemfontein. I've only known about that hospital, but the doctor said no, he doesn't think it will help because Danie will never be self-sufficient again, and it will be actually a waste of time. But I insisted on it that the Pasteur people must come and evaluate him. So they did come all the way from Bloemfontein, did the evaluation on Danie, and they said no, they will be able to try and rehabilitate him as far as possible. So then he was transferred to Pasteur Hospital in Bloemfontein, the rehabilitation hospital. The system that they use were actually very interesting. There are all kinds of therapists, speech, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, educational psychologists, a lot of people working together as a team as well as a social worker. And everything that there was a team effort. And when we arrived there, they explained to me that the first 6 weeks after any brain injury is the most critical time for rehabilitation. And since Danie, in their view, didn't have or didn't receive any therapy during that time, that his prognosis will not be as good as when he did have it. But later on, I shared with them the story about BabyGym and the exercises that I did, and they actually was quite pleased to hear that we did something, and that was quite a good set of exercises that we did. They also believe in natural milestone development, so they informed me that they will start him off with neck control, then rolling, then sitting up, then crawling, and then walking with aid, and then unaided. So that was the road that we had to travel with him. And suddenly all the silly baby gym ideas, doing it on an adult, was not that silly anymore to me. Okay. Then Danie was there for 8 weeks in Pasteur Hospital, and his recovery was slowly but very good. In the end of his hospitalization, he was able to walk out of the hospital unaided, without any crutches or any help. He was then put on 6 months further sick leave, and then in February 2009 he went back to work. He went back to work as a medical doctor, which everybody thought was impossible. At first he had to work under supervision, but luckily after 6 months of supervised work, the doctors said no. Luckily his long-term memory didn't get any damage. He was able to make good diagnosis, treat the patient properly, so he was then able to work on his own again. So we were very grateful that his recovery was so well. We know that this is a big, big miracle, and that God had a plan with Danie, and that is why he made this miraculous recovery. But we also know that God used certain people in our lives to teach us a lot, but also he used them to tell us what to do and when to do those things. And one of those persons are Dr. Melody de Jager and the people from Pasteur Hospital. And that is, I think, the biggest part of his recovery.
Dr. Melody Jager and everyone else, and good students like my wife.
Just for the Mind Moves people here, I just want to share a little bit about Danie's brain profile, just for the sake of interest. Before the accident, he was right brain dominant, but remember, his most severe head injury were on the right side of his brain. Then he was top brain dominant. The second biggest part of his injury were on the top part, and then he was also front lobe dominant, and that was also a big part of his injury. So on all 3 parts of his genetic brain dominance profile, he got severely injured. Further on, he was right-handed dominant, but left foot dominant, and now he was left-sided. He had hemiparesis on the left side. Even after his rehabilitation, his muscle tone were quite increased, and his reflexes were very active on the left side. Then he was left eye dominant and the right ear dominant. Luckily the ear didn't get any damage, but his left eye's vision is far less than before the accident, and he also has a lot of fallouts to the left side when he looks at a page or something. So that was the impact on his genetic brain dominance profile. About a year after the accident, Dr. Melody de Jager visited us, and she tested Danie. She said that he's still genetically the same dominance, but he's functioning out of a different part due to the injury. So now, until now, Danie is functioning left brain dominance, back brain dominance, and underbrain. So he's more emotional, receptive, and left brain. He's still left eye dominant, but he uses his right eye for the better focus. He's still right-handed and right ear dominant, and he had to use his right leg more than his left leg because his left leg was a bit weaker with increased muscle tone and reflexes. But due to the femur fracture and the hip fracture, his right leg were shorter, about 3 centimeters than the left leg, which make him walk a little bit strange and off balance. So yeah, he was quite off balance at that stage.
I had a limp.
I had a limp, that's a proper word. Thank you. Yes, so that is just for the way his brain profile looked and how it looks at this stage. And we still hope for full recovery, but we know that God has teach us a lot of things about ourselves, and luckily we were able to help quite a few people afterwards with also brain injuries in Kimberley, since in Kimberley there was not a lot of therapists who wanted to work on brain injured people, and that was it's a great privilege for us to help people or try to help them and show them some of the exercises, and hope they will carry on and also find relief from it. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
I just want to agree with Sonja that it was a massive miracle that God has performed in my life. I give Him all the honor and glory for saving my life and for helping me to recover so well. But I'm quite sure, I know that part of the miracle was bringing Dr. Melody de Jager into our lives through BabyGym initially, and definitely massive part of the miracle was God giving me this wife who was willing to sit down and work with me and she didn't mind what other people said, like giving me the dummy and so on. She did what she thought, what she knew was best, and what Dr. Melody de Jager told her would be good, and in the end the results are absolutely amazing, and I thank God for that. What I can also say is I'm back at work, functioning completely normal as a medical professional. I'm working in the internal medicine clinic currently in the cardiac division with one of our cardiologists, and I'm getting good feedback from the patients and from the colleagues and everyone, and I'm very excited about the future and for what God has in plan for us for the future. Anything else that I wanted to say?
I just want to thank you for your patience, since we are from Kimberley and we both grew up in the platteland. Our English are not that good.
Oh, gee.
But we want to thank you for your patience, and thank you for the opportunity to share this via webcam or whatever this technology thing is. We want to say thank you, and thank you for your patience. We're going to show you a few photos of the accident of Danie in the ICU, and then of course of our lovely family consisting of our 4 children. Thank you very much.
Can I just say one thing more? I've read a book after the accident. The name is The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Deutsch, and it is absolutely amazing book, and it tells you a lot about neuroplasticity, which is quite a new area of expertise now, and neuroplasticity is amazing. When some parts of your brain are injured, other parts can take over the control of the injured part, and it's just amazing. I want to encourage every one of you to get the book and read it. It will show you amazing things, and it's not stories, it is facts of things that happened and that are proven now.
That is our baby crying in the background.
Well, yes. Now that I hear that, what I wanted to say is, my bad English is not because of the head injury. It's because I grew up in an Afrikaans town in the Free State. That my English was always poor. But thank you for listening to us, and never lose hope. There are always hope in God, and doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It's not, nothing is impossible for God. Yes.
Don't give up. It's just the weight of the world. When your heart's heavy, I will lift it for you. Don't give up, because you want to be heard. If silence keeps you, I will break it for you. Everybody wants to be understood. Well, I can hear you. Everybody wants to be loved. Don't give up, because you are loved. Don't give up. It's just the hurt that you hide.